Dom, the solutionist. The Psycho-Wolf Method, a journey of problem solving and team building. Dom had always been a bit of a restless soul, never quite able to settle down in one place for too long. He had traveled the world, taking on a variety of different jobs and adventures along the way. Using the Psycho-Wolf Method, a unique approach he had developed over the years through his own experiences and insights, Dom was able to think outside the box and tackle even the most complex challenges with confidence and creativity. The Psycho-Wolf Method was Dom's unique approach to problem solving and team building. It was based on his extensive knowledge of psychology and his belief that the power of teamwork could help people overcome any obstacle. Dom had countless experiences under his belt where he often found himself facing seemingly insurmountable challenges. But he never backed down. He was a man with astounding faith and deep knowledge, as he always found a way to break any barrier. Dom's Psycho-Wolf Method's admiration. There are multiple occasions where Dom had created wonders, but one of the most memorable experiences that Dom had using the Psycho-Wolf Method was called upon to assist a major international company that was struggling with low employee morale. The company had been facing a few challenges, including intense competition and a series of internal conflicts. Dom spent weeks working with the company, using his Psycho-Wolf Method to help them identify the root cause of the problem. After a detailed analysis, came with a solution by helping the team to develop a comprehensive plan to improve morale and engage their employees. Within just a few months, the company saw a dramatic improvement in employee morale, and productivity and profits started to rise. The team was more cohesive and motivated than ever before, and they were able to achieve their goals in a way that they never thought possible. For Dom, this experience was a testament to the power of the Psycho-Wolf Method. He knew that by focusing on critical thinking, teamwork, and psychology, he could help people overcome any challenge and achieve success. This was the power of the Psycho-Wolf Method, and it was something that Dom was truly passionate about. Dom got new destination. After years of globetrotting and experiencing all that the world had to offer, Dom decided that it was time for a change despite getting so much fame. He had always been fascinated by the power of the human mind and the ability to solve complex problems, so he decided to turn his focus to teaching others how to do the same. As the years went by, Dom's reputation as a skilled and inspiring teacher grew. He was sought after by organizations around the world, and he spent his days traveling from one place to the next, sharing his knowledge and helping others to succeed. He knew that, in his small way, he was making a difference in the world, and that was more than enough for him. He had always been drawn to the road less traveled, and he knew that it was that spirit of adventure and innovation that had led him to find his true calling in life. The quantum threat, a cybersecurity narrative. As Dom continued his work as an instructor, he remained at the forefront of the latest developments in the field of problem solving and team building. With the invention of decentralized computing, quantum computing power had become accessible to the devious underworld, and cybersecurity was under threat like never before. As the decentralized computer technology advanced, it became clear that it would soon be possible for anyone to access powerful quantum computing capabilities. This presented a significant threat to the security of the digital world. The hackers had been using the quantum computer to breach the defenses of some of the world's most secure networks, stealing sensitive data and wreaking havoc wherever they went. As the threat of decentralized quantum computing became more apparent, cybersecurity experts around the world began to scramble for a solution. They knew that traditional cybersecurity measures would no longer be sufficient to protect against the kind of powerful, targeted attacks that quantum computers would enable. Cybercriminals and other malicious thespians could use quantum computers to crack even the most advanced encryption algorithms, potentially giving them access to sensitive data and systems. Governments and companies around the world started to take notice and quickly began searching for ways to defend against this new threat. There was a need for a full-stack resource to develop the tools for research that permit researchers to operate beyond conventional skills. Ultimately, it became clear that the only way to truly stay safe in the age of quantum computing was to adopt a holistic, multifaceted approach to cybersecurity that combined advanced technologies with better education and awareness, stronger policies and procedures, and more robust collaboration between governments, companies, and individuals. Only then could we hope to keep ourselves and our sensitive data safe in the face of this new and formidable threat. There were some suggested solutions. 1. Some experts suggested that the best approach would be to simply try to stay ahead of the hackers by constantly developing and implementing new, more advanced cybersecurity technologies. 2. Others argue that the only way to truly protect against the threat of quantum computing was to fundamentally rethink the way we approach cybersecurity altogether. 3. One solution that was proposed was the development of quantum-resistant encryption algorithms. These algorithms would be specifically designed to be resistant to attacks from quantum computers, making it much harder for hackers to gain access to sensitive information. 4. Another solution that was proposed was the use of quantum key distribution, QKD, to securely transmit information between parties. QKD uses the principles of quantum mechanics to create a secure channel of communication that is virtually impossible to intercept or hack. But the implementation of the solutions was still missing, and organizations were discussing the name DOM to do something new. The cyber attack that nearly destroyed DOM's legacy. As the months went by, DOM's reputation as an expert in advanced problem solving, critical thinking, and team building grew. His students, who came from a variety of industries, were always impressed by his ability to challenge their assumptions, and encourage them to think outside the box. He had been so involved in his work and legacy and never thought about what had been going on with quantum computing and decentralized computing. The media hysteria was increasing day by day and all eyes were on DOM. At the time, DOM was in its comfort zone and reluctant to come in front of the media. Despite the media's constant attention and speculation about what he might do to address the threat of decentralized computing and quantum computing power falling into the hands of cybercriminals, DOM remained focused on his work as an instructor. However, the media continued to hound him, asking where he was and what he was doing. He had been ignoring the media hype surrounding his return to the public eye. DOM's response. The legacy of the DOM, which he had taken years to build for his Wolfpack, was just declining. DOM couldn't shake the feeling that something was amiss. Regardless of the chaos and uncertainty of the times, DOM was proud to have made a positive impact on the world through his work. He had spent years building his reputation and legacy, and the thought of it all being destroyed by malicious actors was deeply unsettling. Cybersecurity is at risk, and everyone is asking questions as quantum computing's accessibility is in the hands of the cunning. DOM knew that he couldn't sit idly by and watch his legacy be destroyed. DOM was devastated and determined to find out who was responsible, and bring them to justice. Despite his initial reluctance to get involved, DOM knew that he had a unique set of skills and experience that could be invaluable in finding a solution to this growing problem. DOM's initiative aims to teach the next generation of consultants. He decided to act and launched a new initiative called Build Your Wolfpack, aimed at teaching the next generation of consultants the skills they would need to combat these new threats. He began to put his Wolfpack training methods to work, teaching the next generation of consultants how to identify and mitigate cyber threats. DOM began to realize the full extent of the threat that decentralized computing posed. He knew that he had to do something to stop it before it was too late. DOM launched a campaign to raise awareness about the dangers of decentralized computing and the importance of cybersecurity. He worked tirelessly to educate the public and to encourage businesses and governments to invest in stronger cyber defenses. DOM knew that he could never truly retire if there were threats to be faced and battles to be won. But with the help of his Wolfpack, he was confident that they would be able to face any challenge that came their way. He was very confident that through his unique method, the implementation of the solutions could be very much possible. The public decree response. The malicious cyber attack by the criminal underworld had become so serious that public infrastructures were at risk and there was an enormous amount of data breaches very much possible. As time progressed, things seemed to be out of control. Cybersecurity was in danger and DOM had to do something to save the world's assets. But he knew he had to do a miraculous thing out of nowhere. By that time, DOM had released a public decree to the criminal underworld, mentioning to return world access to his platform in 24 hours. It was also stated that the criminals had taken control of the infrastructure and that they were not afraid to use it as leverage. As soon as DOM's decree was issued, the response was swift and decisive. All public critical infrastructure in Augusta, GA was halted, and DOM received a note on his door at 320 Stable Bridge Road. DOM knew he had to act quickly. He immediately contacted the authorities and explained the situation to them, detailing the demands of the criminals and the potential consequences if they were not met. The authorities promised to do everything they could to help, but they also warned DOM that the situation was more complex than he realized. The decentralized computer network was vast and difficult to trace, and the criminals who had taken control of it were highly skilled and well organized. The criminals were very much aware of this public decree and played card by card to access everything. DOM's right now couldn't do much about that because he had to find out the group involved in this whole act. Despite the challenges, DOM was determined to find a solution. He spent the next few days working tirelessly, brainstorming ideas and consulting with experts in the field of cybersecurity. He knew that time was of the essence, and he had to come up with a plan quickly. They knew that the decentralized computer network was vulnerable to quantum computing attacks, and that the criminals were likely using this to their advantage. Targeted cyber attack. To counter this, Dom and his team worked to develop a new cybersecurity solution that would be able to withstand even the most advanced quantum computing attacks. They spent countless hours researching and testing their solution, making sure it was as secure as possible. Finally, after many long hours of work, they hit upon a plan. They knew that the decentralized computer network was powerful, but it was also vulnerable to attack. They decided to launch a targeted cyber attack on the network, using their team of experts to disrupt the flow of information and take control of the system. Dom was not sure whether the implementation is possible or not because he had to find out his opponent's approach first, then implementation of the plans could be possible. Dom and his opponent. Apart from not having a clear mindset, Dom had to do something to save his legacy. But the question was how to tackle this complex problem. Everyone was thinking that it was a group of malicious criminals who were involved in these activities. Dom had to know who was there on the other side of the curtain. Despite the challenges, Dom was determined to succeed. He began by analyzing the data that had been collected about the attacks, looking for patterns and clues that might help him identify the person. These were the following options or methods that Dom's team had. Examining the attack vector. They used this method to carry out the attack can often reveal whether it was carried out by an individual or a group. For instance, a highly sophisticated and coordinated attack was more likely to be the work of a group rather than a single individual. Analyzing the payload. This could be useful for the payload or the code that was delivered as a part of the attack, because it could reveal the identity of the preparator by giving some clues. The payload may contain distinctive coding styles or language that could help them identify the individual or group responsible. Looking for patterns, by examining the timing and targets of previous attacks could help determine whether they were working for a single individual or a group. Gathering intelligence. They also had an option of utilizing intelligence gathering techniques, such as tracking IP addresses and analyzing the online activity of the criminals. As he delved deeper into the data, Dom realized that certain patterns seemed to emerge. With the data collected about the attacks, different patterns, and intelligence clues, Dom was able to identify that it was not a group, but his opponent was a single individual with having high-powered AI that was trained on Dom's mental models and patterns. The scenarios were becoming tougher and tougher, and he had to find a way to overcome the system. Dom began to consider his options. He knew that he needed to find a way to outsmart the powerful AI based on his mental models and patterns. He decided to start by gathering as much information as he could about AI and its capabilities. He reached out to his network of contacts in the cybersecurity industry, seeking insights and advice on how to counter AI attacks. It appeared that the AI was using a specific set of tactics and strategies, and Dom began to formulate a plan to counter these moves. Confronting a familiar foe. Dom knew that he had a bigger challenge that could test his core strength. As he worked to gather intelligence, Dom also began to formulate a plan. He knew that he needed to find a way to disrupt AI's operations and neutralize its power. This would require a combination of technical expertise and strategic thinking. He worked tirelessly, working long hours, and leveraging every resource at his disposal. Despite having the different approaches and solutions given by the team of experts, Dom was unable to figure out things that were needed to beat this powerful AI. He had always believed that every problem had at least one solution, but this time, he wasn't so sure. The AI that was threatening his legacy and the safety of the world was unlike anything he had ever encountered before. He had tried every solution he could think of, but nothing seemed to be working. The AI was simply too powerful and too clever. As the minutes ticked by, Dom found himself spiraling into despair. He couldn't let this be the end. He had to find a way to beat the AI. Dom reached its familiar foe. Just as he was about to lose all hope, a thought occurred to him. He remembered a familiar foe from his past, someone who had always been a thorn in his side but who also possessed a brilliant mind and a vast knowledge of AI technology. Her name was Mondai. Dom thought that she couldn't be the woman who was constantly looking to destroy the legacy of the Psycho Wolf method that he had developed over the years. Dom played so cleverly that time, he had to find out whether Mondai was involved in this whole situation or not. Dom hesitated for a moment, unsure if reaching out to this familiar foe was the right move. But he was desperate, and he knew that he needed all the clues he could get. He picked up the phone and dialed the number, hoping that his foe would be willing to lend a hand. To his surprise, the man answered on the first ring. "Hello, Dom," the woman said coolly. "To what do I owe the pleasure?" Dom explained the situation, laying out all the details of the powerful AI and the threat it posed to his legacy. He asked for the woman's help, hoping that he could provide some guidance or ideas on how to defeat it. Mondai responds, once upon a time, there was a young man named Dom who worked as a network engineer at a large tech company. One day, the company's main server suddenly crashed, causing all operations to come to a standstill. The IT department was at a loss as to how to fix the problem, and the situation seemed dire. Dom knew he had to take action, so he set out to find a solution. He began by analyzing the problem and breaking it down into smaller parts. He then formulated several hypotheses about what could be causing the issue, and used the OSI model to prioritize his troubleshooting efforts. The first thing Dom did was to check the physical layer of the network, making sure all the cables and connections were secure. He then moved on to the data link layer, checking for any errors or inconsistencies in the network's data transmissions. Next, Dom focused on the network layer, looking for any routing issues that could be causing the problem. He also checked the transport layer for any problems with the network's flow control or error checking. Finally, Dom turned his attention to the upper layers of the OSI model, examining the application and presentation layers for any issues that could be causing the server crash. After hours of meticulous troubleshooting, Dom finally found the cause of the problem, a software bug in the network's application layer that was causing a buffer overflow. He quickly wrote a patch to fix the bug and applied it to the server. The server sprang back to life, and the company's operations resumed as normal. Dom was hailed as a hero for saving the day, and his colleagues looked up to him as a shining example of how to use logic and scientific methods to solve even the most seemingly impossible technical problems. Dom's determination and hard work had paid off, and he was proud of himself for not giving up even when things seemed hopeless. He knew that in the world of technology, the impossible was always possible, if you had the right tools and mindset. And at that moment I knew you were the bane of my existence. There was a pause on the other end of the line, and then the woman spoke. I see, she said. Well, I suppose I could help you out and drop the call. Dom got another clue that she was the mastermind behind the cybersecurity attack. Because there were the following things that are connecting the dot in his mind. He also thought there could be someone whom he had taught about his psycho-wolf method. Now, Mondai was using him against me to destroy all my legacy. He sat down and wrote the following points. First, the foe attacked the cybersecurity. Second, that his opponent was using the high AI technology. Third, the AI model was solely based on his mental models and patterns. Fourth, Mondai was the woman who is expert in AI. Last, Mondai was using her skills and psycho-wolf method. Dom had to bring together all his plans and psycho-wolf method to beat his mental models and patterns. A new concoct plan. Dom was inquisitive and determined to find the solution that can tackle the AI, and what strategy he could apply to buckle his patterns. He had to plan from zero to take down this powerful AI. Dom was in a kind of disbelief because whenever he made a new plan, there were not sufficient resources to tackle this threat courtesy of the strong AI technology, but he was constantly trying. He spent days brainstorming and researching, trying to come up with a solution to this new threat. He explored various options, from creating a patch for the platform to using advanced encryption and security measures to protect it from future attacks. Dom was in a kind of struggle and furious about how he couldn't find a solution to this attack. Dom rethinks everything and devises a plan. As Dom sat at his desk, staring at the screen in front of him, he knew he had to come up with a plan to take down the powerful AI that had hacked into his platform and disrupted critical infrastructure. He had been feeling overwhelmed and depressed, but now was not the time to give up. He stood up and walked over to the bar, pouring himself a strong drink to help clear his mind. As he took a sip of the old-fashioned, he felt his spirits lifting slightly. He poured a shot of absinthe and knocked it back, feeling the warm burn in his throat. He took a deep breath and connected the dots once again. 2 hours were gone. Dom had a smile on his face because there was something that he had found to handle this situation. Meanwhile, his wife was asking, "Dom, why you are smiling in this crunch situation?" Dom replied, "I am on my way to restoring my legacy. Finally, I have formulated a solution to beat this strong AI-leave the home." Before leaving home, his brother was gazing him what he could do, and thinking was he smart enough to do a wonder out of nowhere. Dom's psycho-wolf app to reach the mastermind. After continuous battles, he chained every aspect and didn't want to make any single mistake. After devising a plan to take down the powerful AI that had hacked into his platform, Dom knew he needed to reach out to the best and brightest in the field of cybersecurity. As Dom worked to implement the patch and protect his platform from future attacks, Dom knew that he had to connect and spread the message very securely. He spent long hours in his office, poring over data and strategizing with his team. He knew that the stakes were high and that they couldn't afford to fail. He knew that Mondai, his familiar foe, had always been a formidable opponent, and he couldn't help but wonder if Mondai was behind the attacks on his platform. As the hours ticked by, he couldn't shake the feeling that Mondai was involved somehow. And when the news finally came, he was shocked but not surprised to find out that Mondai was indeed the one behind the attacks. According to the information that his team had gathered, Mondai had used the powerful AI to carry out his plan, manipulating it to hack into Dom's platform and disrupt critical infrastructure. With this, Dom found out the man who was taking instructions from Mondai. The response was immediate. He was determined to find out more and uncover the truth behind Mondai's plans. He turned to his Psycho Wolf app, a secure messaging platform that he used to connect with high-level consultants around the world. He opened the app and sent a simple message, "Lobo." Within minutes, he related to a network of experts from around the globe. There was a code associated with this message, Lobo, LO0800. At 8 a.m. GMT, Dom sent out a message to all commercial and government decentralized compute systems, telling them to go lights out at 8 a.m. This move from the Dom was on top of an AI, and the AI model couldn't do much about this. He knew that this was no ordinary request, it was a sign that something big was about to happen. He was amazed at how quickly he was able to connect with high-level consultants and professionals around the world. With the powerful AI defeated and his platform safe from future attacks, Dom knew he had to turn his attention to the bigger problem at hand, the use of quantum computing power by nefarious actors. Dom was on its way to creating a solution that doesn't allow anyone to misuse quantum computing power. Dom's identity solution. With his plan in place, Dom got to work. He knew that time was of the essence, as every moment the AI remained active was another moment of danger for the world. He worked tirelessly, pulling together all the resources he had at his disposal to create a solution that would neutralize the power of the AI. Dom knew that he had to create a solution to decentralized computing that would allow quantum computing power to be used safely and securely, without the risk of it falling into the hands of the nefarious. He knew that this was the key to defeating the AI, as it would allow him to disrupt its operations and take away its power. Dom wanted to create an identity solution that can help to authenticate and verify the identity of a person or entity. He was trying effortlessly to use this system in cybersecurity to protect against identity theft and other online threats. Dom's identity solution would be great for decentralized computing and quantum computing to ensure that only authorized users have access to the computing power and prevent unauthorized parties from accessing it. Moreover, this would be a great step to make sure that only trusted parties can access and use certain resources or systems. Dom's approach to identity solution. Once again, Dom's Psycho Wolf method comes into play, which allowed him to implement his whole strategy efficiently. A general overview of how he could be able to create an identity solution. He identified the problem or need. The first step in creating an identity solution was to identify the problem or need that it would be addressing. Next, he researched and gathered information. Once the problem has been identified, the next step he had done was researching and gathering information about the best ways to solve it. This involved researching existing identity solutions, consulting with experts in the field, or studying the latest technologies and trends. After he designed the solution, based on the information gathered, the next step was to design the identity solution. Therefore, he had to create a system or software that authenticates and verifies identities, or develop protocols and procedures for managing access to resources. Implemented the solution. Once the solution had been designed, the next step was to implement it. There was a need to install software, set up systems and protocols, and train users on how to use the solution. He tested and refined the solution. When the solution was implemented, it was important to test it to ensure that it is working as intended. If necessary, the solution would be refined and modified based on the results of the testing. Deploying and maintaining the solution. Once the solution was finalized, it needed to deploy and made available to users. It would be important to regularly maintain and update the solution to ensure that it continues to meet the needs of the organization and to protect against any new threats or vulnerabilities. Dom continued to work on his solution. He knew that this was the biggest challenge he had ever faced, but he was confident in his abilities and his team. He worked tirelessly, day and night, until finally, the solution was complete. As he activated the solution, Dom watched with a sense of satisfaction as the AI was neutralized and its power stripped away. He had done it. He had defeated his familiar foe and saved the world from danger. The legacy of the Psycho Wolf method would live on, and Dom could finally rest easy knowing that he had done everything in his power to protect it. There was a sense of calm on Dom's face after a long battle and hurdles. An identity solution for a decentralized computer will never allow quantum computing power to be in the hands of the disreputable.